stand. People versus Willis, we're on the record. You want to call your next witness, you may, Mr. Hilson.
Thank you, Judge. People of the state of Michigan call Sergeant Jim McDonald to the stand. Oh, we are going to be using this, ladies and gentlemen. So position.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
My name is James McDonald, McDonald.
Sergeant McDonald, what department do you work with?
I'm with the Michigan Department of State Police.
And specifically, sir, what's your assignment or what are your duties?
I'm assigned to the Special Investigation Division Technical Services Unit, West Office.
And what sort of things does the Technical Services Unit do?
Our unit provides support to law enforcement in Michigan, state, county, federal, locals. We provide any kind of technical assistance they need, whether it be with cellular tracking, cameras, about anything technical you can imagine.
Now, do you have a specific area that you cover personally?
I cover West Michigan. My area goes from about Ionia to the Lakeshore, Manistee, down to about South Haven.
And you're providing all those services to the various agencies, and it doesn't matter if it's state police, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Now, you were, I guess I should ask you, were you asked to assist in the investigation involving Jeffrey Willis?
I was, sir.
Now, let's talk a little bit about some of your background here. Your education is what, sir?
I've been in the state police for almost 28 years, 21, a little over 21, assigned to this technical services unit. From the moment I got in the unit, I actually started, my first day was in Florida at training. I've been training usually 2 or 3 times a year, different aspects of technical support. I went to Michigan Tech for my undergrad. Although I didn't finish my degree, I did go there. But the training's been nonstop for 21 years.
Now, as part of that training, Sergeant, does that include the area of cell phone technology?
It does.
And could you describe for the jury, please, what part of that training and what that encompasses when we're talking about cell phones?
We take a look at cell phones, and our training is basically we learn how they work, how they transmit, how they receive, how they communicate with the system. We learn about the different carriers and how each carrier is slightly different, but how they interact with each other. The cell phones are very interesting. They're very dynamic. They change. It's a constant evolution. You're always learning more and more. Every day is something new and something different.
Now, does does part of your training also include interpreting cell phone data, i.e. cell phone records and cell site data?
Yes, sir. I don't personally do what you probably might hear called a phone dump, where they physically take the phone and extract information. I don't do those. What I look at is more of the communication with the cell phone, with the tower, the records it generates, and how those records pertain to an investigation.
And is it safe to say, Sergeant, that you can learn a lot from cell phones, not only contact information, but also cell site data information?
Yes, sir. The phones have to communicate with the tower to provide service to the customer. So anytime there's a phone call, SMS or a text message, internet connection, whether it be email, it's making a record with the tower.
Now, have you testified in court before as to your expertise as it relates to cell phones and analyzing the cell phone data and tower records.
Yes, sir.
How many times?
4.
And have you been qualified as an expert in that area each of the 4 times that you've testified?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, I move to admit Sergeant Jim McDonald as an expert in the area of cell phone analysis, including data and cell site data analysis.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, witness may testify as an expert in that field.
So, Sergeant, can you just describe in general, we're going to talk in generalities here first before we get to specifics. Let's talk about the towers themselves first. There's a whiteboard next to you. I'll let you choose whatever color you want here. But could you describe for the jury, when we talk about cell towers, what part of the cell tower is important to what you do?
Not to be real overly technical, a cellular phone is a radio, and a radio communicates with radio waves. A cell tower is what it's trying to communicate with. Every time a cell phone and the cell tower communicate, they're basically shaking hands and they're completing the transaction. As end users, we don't even notice that happening, but the towers are out there. May I stand up, sir?
Yes.
So, and this will just be a general approximation or give you a general idea of how a tower is set up. So a tower is actually a physical location. The carriers will provide us with a GPS coordinate that we can actually plot onto a map. So you have an actual physical spot, and I'm sure we've all seen them around the area. The tower will propagate RF, which means it sends an RF signal out. It's looking to send a signal out and receive a signal. So to make it really simple, what we do is basically draw a circle approximating what the RF is from that tower. So you have the tower in the center, and then you have basically the RF that propagates the RF from the tower and receives. And then the phone companies go one step further and they'll break it up. And this isn't necessarily the case for how I'm going to draw it here, but it's a generalization. They'll break this tower up into 3 even sectors. Each one of these is considered a sector. So the tower will propagate on this sector, this sector, this sector, and that's how it generates the record. It'll say it came from this tower, this sector, and they'll have names. Sometimes they'll call them alpha, beta, gamma. Sometimes they'll give them numbers. In this case, they give them an azimuth. The azimuth is a line right in the center that splits these sectors up. So if they tell you this is 30 degrees azimuth, that would be the center of that sector. And then what we'll do is we'll take this 120 degrees and say 30 degrees from there, so 60 and 60, and that's how we get an approximation of the tower and how they're working.
Now, obviously, cell phone companies want to give the strongest signal to their customers. Is that correct?
Correct.
And if you could describe again, or continue your description as to how that plays a role in what you do and how you analyze it.
Absolutely. So, and I'm sure we've all had it. So, cell phone companies, they want to make sure they provide you with service and give you quality service. They don't want you dropping calls. I think in the past there used to be guarantees they drop calls. But so what they'll do is they'll strategically position cell towers in different areas. And what happens, the same thing happens with this. This one will have its propagation. This one will have its propagation. And what they're trying to do is create almost like if you imagine a honeycomb effect, where all these sectors are touching each other, and in most cases they're even overlapping each other a little bit. So if this was a road, say 31, and you're driving down this road, and you start a phone call and you're transmitting with this tower, and you keep driving, and now you may pick up this tower because this is a stronger signal, or you may pick up this tower, and as you keep driving, you'll just keep handing off from tower to tower. As end users, we don't even notice the difference. It's so smooth. It's just a handoff, continual handoff. And what the phone company wants to do is give you the best service. They don't want your call being dropped. And your phone is trying to find the best and strongest signal from the tower. When I talked about RF propagation, there's a lot of things that can affect how it comes from the tower. It could be weather. It could be structure, foliage. There's a lot of things that can affect how that RF comes from that tower. So that your phone is always looking for the strongest signal too.
Now, as far as the sectors are concerned, and you kind of touched on this with your road example, but when you're analyzing cell site data, does a person's position matter as far as what sector they're going to be bouncing off of? Does that question make sense?
I think I know what you're asking
Okay.
me. If you're stationary in a spot, your phone and the way the towers are propagating, you're going to affiliate with a tower. So say it's this tower, and you are locked on with that tower. You're not moving. Maybe you're making phone calls or SMSing or whatever. Say something happens, a truck or leaves, or maybe it starts to rain, and all of a sudden this tower becomes a better option for you. Your phone may just switch to this tower. You won't even know. All of a sudden you're using this tower because something environmentally or physically you may have moved about a spot where you got behind something that was concrete or something that just changed enough that made your phone switch to a different tower.
So, using your stationary example, if a person is stationary here, and we're going to use these towers as they're going to be bouncing off of this sector or maybe this sector, as you described, if there's an environmental change. But is there any way that they're going to be bouncing off of this sector or this sector if they're in that location?
The one thing about cell phones and the towers, there's all phone companies use it. It's called voice over data. It's a protocol where they always take that a phone call is more important than a voice call. So it's always going to prioritize a voice call over a phone call. I mean, over a data or an SMS. So say, for example, this tower over here had a sector pointing this way, and you were texting back and forth with somebody, and then there was enough call volume that it could switch your phone to this tower, even though it's further away, maybe not as strong as a signal because data is a little bit more robust. It can switch it to a different tower. The one thing that can never happen is this phone call or text or generate records could never bend. A radio wave can't bend. They're straight lines. They can bounce, they can deflect, but they can't bend. They can't bend 180 degrees. It's impossible. There's nothing that'll refract a radio wave in the complexity that a cell phone has, 180 degrees back to where it came. It can't happen.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the raw data. So when you receive raw data from a cell phone company, in what form does it come in?
Every company, may I sit back down, sir?
Yeah, you may.
Every company has different ways they send the data. For this particular case, these were AT&T records. They come in they call them a comma separated value or a PDF version. They have the same records, and they are just raw data numbers. They're basically start time, end times, who's calling who. There's a lot of different little characters that tell you that it's a terminating or an originating call, if it's a text. But they're pretty much raw records that you get, and you have to kind of decipher them.
So when you receive the records, then how is it that you then turn what the cell phone company sends to you into a final product for your purposes?
The state police, we have some contracts with some vendors that we use that we'll take, and they're basically, it's an automated system. So basically what we do is we can take raw records and we can import them into the system. We can set the parameters if there's a time offset. AT&T records come in what they call UTC time. It's a coordinated universal time. It's a time standard. It's not a time zone. So you have to take the factor for when the UTC time is to Eastern Standard Time. But basically, we take those records, we put them into a program, and then we can actually ask for parameters. If we were looking for certain dates, we can ask for the certain dates and just pull the records back out. And then what's really, for us, our purposes, it's really easy because it'll map them for us. It'll give us just an overview of a map of how the calls transpired.
Now looking at what you were asked to specifically do in this particular investigation, were you provided records? I think you indicated already, but AT&T provided you some phone records?
Yes, I don't remember which particular officer got a search warrant, but they sent me the records once they received them from AT&T.
All right. And Judge, just for the next part of this discussion, Mr. Johnson and I have entered into a stipulation. We've stipulated that the number 231-855-4471 is a cell number that belongs to the defendant, and that the number 231-777-0070 is the number associated with the Willis residence, the landline.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Now, Sergeant, were you given a specific time frame to look at?
I was asked to look at April 26, 2013 to April 27, 2013.
Okay. And those two particular numbers were numbers of interest, is that?
Correct. The records, the AT&T records I received were for cellular 231-855-4471.
All right, so they were the defendant's cell phone records from AT&T.
Correct, sir.
All right. Now, we've had testimony in this case already that an individual saw a Jessica hearing go live at 10:52 p.m. on the 26th. Then an individual, a customer, Mr. Harpster, walked into the Exxon station right around 11:07 or a few minutes thereafter p.m. and nobody was present. Were you able to come up with any, conclusions based on your review of the record? I guess, before I even start there, Sergeant, I'm going to flip this open for you. All right, we're going to be looking at People's Exhibit, starting with People's Exhibit 38. Just give me 1 second. Okay. People's Exhibit 38, Sergeant, could you tell us what we're looking at here, please?
Yes, sir. This is a record that was generated by the cellular device. It's an incoming call from 231-777-0070. The call started in the sector that is yellow, got a yellow highlight around it, and the call ended in the sector that's not highlighted. I will tell you that the duration is there's not a lot of duration. In fact, it shows triple zeros on the on this sheet. And just if I could elaborate just for a second, when you make a call, and I'm sure we probably all have experienced, you make a telephone call, and it may take that. We probably don't even notice anymore. It may take 3 or 4 or 5 seconds for that call to process through the tower system to your end user that you're calling or the person you're calling. So on the raw records, it'll show a seizure time and it'll show an elapsed time. This is very quick. So this call came through. It didn't even grab a lot of seizure time, but it did generate enough of a time to generate a tower record.
Now, is there something unique or special about AT&T records as it relates to GPS position?
The raw records from AT&T, a lot of providers, what they'll do is they'll give us a number code. They'll say, for example, Tower 426, and there might be some other identifiers. And what we'll have to do is go through a tower list for that provider and find the Tower 426, which then will have GPS coordinates assigned to it. Then we'll plot the tower. So it's just like an extra step. AT&T, what they'll do is they'll actually provide you the cell location. They're calling the cell, meaning the tower location. They'll give you the GPS coordinates, and they'll also give you the azimuth that it was generated from.
So in this particular, in your plotting of this particular call, the end of the end point, if you will, is where the tower is located, or the sector, I should say.
The pointy part of the pie?
Yes,
The
thank you.
pointy part of the pie is where the tower's at, yes.
And just so I'm clear, it started in the one sector you indicated, and in that sector you have something labeled Bailey House.
Yes, sir.
Is that reference to 3038 Bailey?
It is, sir.
And then I think above that you have another pinpoint at 1842 South Sheridan.
Correct.
All right. And is that the residence of the defendant, where he lived at the time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, just so I'm clear, then, at 11:23 p.m. on that night, there was a phone call coming from the defendant's residence to the defendant's cell phone.
Correct.
Okay. And even based on the overlapping, it's near or at the Bailey house.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's move on to the next exhibit, which I think is People's Exhibit 39. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. What are we looking at in this particular record?
This is at 11:59, a incoming call again from 231-777-0070, and that is it's hitting on the tower that encompasses where the Bailey house is at.
And at this point in time, there is no, at this particular time period, is it safe to say there is no overlap between the two towers?
Yes, the phone it only associated with that one tower for this particular record.
Okay. And again, so that's at midnight essentially on the 11:59. I'm sorry, on the 26th. There is a call again from the defendant's residence to the defendant's cell phone.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's look at Exhibit 40, please. What are we looking at in this particular record?
This is right at midnight. This is a record that was generated by the tower. That it actually shows a text, but that's my system assigning it a text, even though it's not a text. What this is a AT&T will send a notification. The phone wasn't your typical smartphone. It was a flip phone. So to send a message from the network to the phone, it came across as, on my records, it shows it a text, but it's not a text. It's just a 4-digit short code to let you know, like either A, you missed a call, you have a voicemail waiting, that kind of thing. So the record was generated at 12 o'clock to the defendant's phone. My records show it's a text. It's actually a short code. It's a message from the carrier to the phone.
And again, even though it's carrier to the phone saying, "Hey, you missed a call. You've got a message." It's plotting where?
Well, it still wants to deliver the message to the phone, so it's still plotting on the same tower that encompasses that Bailey house.
Okay. Let's look at Exhibit 41. What are we looking at in this particular exhibit?
41 is an outgoing call from 231-855-4471 to the 231-777-0070.
And this is plotting how?
This is at 12:05. This is actually a completed call. The duration is almost a minute. That call is hitting from a tower that's facing. You can see from the map, it's west of 31, and the sector, the azimuth, is pointed straight west, 270 degrees.
Okay. So going back to your earlier demonstration, again, the pointy part of the pie is the center of the tower. Is that correct? And so at this particular time, this call is hitting on would be the west sector of that tower.
Correct.
So ultimately, whoever's making this call is standing on the west side of that tower.
They're west of that tower, correct,
Okay.
sir?
And again, that's a phone call from the defendant's cell phone to the defendant's residence.
Correct.
Now, Sergeant McDonald, were you asked also to look at June 29th, 2014?
I was, sir.
And were you able to make any, as it relates to this particular cell number or the residence number, were you able to make any similar findings as you did for this particular time frame?
So I don't have them with me, but if I recall, there was there was no call records that were generated that were of value to the investigation.
Now, and the reason why I asked you that question is this next question. Can you describe for the jury reasons why cell records may not be generated? In other words, are phones always bouncing off these towers as they're moving from here, there, and everywhere? Are there ways that records are not generated?
Yeah, absolutely, sir. I can explain that. Even in 2013 till 2017, cell phones have changed a lot. But even back in 2013, your phone, if it was turned on, was going to generate records, even very minute records. If you had a smartphone and if you had any kind of apps running where you may have had weather bug or something running on your phone, you were going to constantly be communicating with the tower. GPS locations, things like that. It's constantly communicating with the tower. The only way you can not communicate with the tower is to either shut your phone off or have nothing running on your phone. Like absolutely, I mean, in this case, this phone was a flip phone. It wasn't a smartphone. So you could have inactivity, but it would be complete inactivity. There would be nothing going on, no calls generated, no texts, no anything. So the only way you can either not generate a record is shut your phone off, or shut every app you have off running, or just basically not use it at all.
So, I know you talked about smartphones, but the phone we're talking about, the defendant's cell phone, was not a smartphone.
Correct.
It was, I think, as you indicated, a flip phone.
Correct.
It didn't have the features you were describing.
Correct.
All right. Judge, I've marked as People's Exhibit 167 the digital file of the cell phone records that Sergeant McDonald was talking about, and I would move for its admission.
No objection, Your Honor. I think that's number what?
167.
And 167 is received.
I have no further questions on this witness.
Good morning, Matt.
You may.
Good morning, Sergeant Brown. How are you?
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm well, thank you for asking. I'm Fred Johnson. I'd like to ask you a couple more questions. When you do your investigation, sir, are you, well, I don't care in general, in this particular case, were you given a name to go along with the phone numbers, or did you just give them the telephone numbers and told, hey, look this stuff up?
I was involved with the investigation, so I knew the names associated with the different numbers.
With these phone numbers?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And during that process, were you ever asked to, or did you on your own, investigate the locations of the phones of Mr. Kevin Bloom?
I don't recall doing Mr. Bloom's phones. I very well could have, but I don't remember for this time period, sir. I'm sorry. I can't remember. Can't recall.
How about Mr. Kevin Bletch?
I don't recall if I did Kevin Bletch either, sir.
All right.
I apologize.
You don't need to. That's fine.
A lot of numbers.
Yes, sir. Now, what your investigation shows is where if you're following you can tell where a person's phone is, right? That's what your investigation shows, where their telephones are at any particular time during your research. Is that correct?
We can give a location of within that sector that phone's at.
Okay, but it doesn't tell you who's on the phone or who has the phone, it just tells you where the phone is. Is that
Correct.
correct? And it's my understanding that, and we've been told that on June 29th, 2014, that was the date when Ms. Bletch was killed, your investigation didn't show, my client's phone didn't come up at all.
My recollection is there was no valuable records for that investigation.
Okay, so for the Harriga investigation, which you just talked about, it showed the phone moving around and it showed where the call was coming and where it was going to, correct?
Correct.
But that wasn't the case with Ms. Bletch?
I don't recall the records for that investigation. I just remember that there was not anything investigative-wise that was worthwhile for the investigators.
Thank you. Would you, one moment, please? Just a couple more questions.
Yes, sir.
Do you recall if you did any research investigation for my client's phone on, I think it was April 16, 2016?
I don't have the records in front of me. I don't remember exactly how far the records reached, sir. I don't have them. I don't get the records. The investigators give me what they give me to analyze. So.
Okay. So, well, you don't recall seeing anything on that particular date or that?
April
of 2016 for Mr. Willis?
I don't recall, but I might not have even seen records for that date. So.
All right. Thank you. I have no further questions.
Just a couple quick follow-ups here. If the defendant had turned his phone off or there was no phone call activity, that's a pretty good reason why we might not see anything on June 29th, 2014.
Correct.
Nothing else.
Okay, you can stand down, thank you. So are we ready?
Yeah, give me 1 second, Judge.
Judge, people of the state of Michigan call MJN to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
We're
Madison.
using your initials, MJN.
Yes.
Okay. We'll fill in the blanks later. Good morning.
Good morning.
You doing okay?
Yes.
Okay. MJN, what I need you to do is make sure that you speak up loud and clear for me, okay?
Yes.
These are the folks that need to hear what you have to say,
Okay.
okay? How old are you currently?
17.
And back on April 16th of 2016, how old were you?
16.
Now, I want to talk to you about, well, let me ask you this. Who do you currently live with?
Carrie Nygaard, my mom.
Your mom? Back on the 15th of April, 2016, then a Friday night in particular, what did you do that night?
I went to a party.
All right, and where was that party at? Or I guess if you could describe in general kind of where you went and ultimately where you ended up.
Well, I went to 2 parties. I don't remember where the first one was, and then we had left and went to my friend Jalen's house, and then went to a party on Green Creek.
Okay. Again, I gotta ask you to speak up just a little
Sorry.
bit. Okay. You end up at a party at what location?
Green Creek.
Green Creek Road?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I hate to ask you this, but I gotta ask you, were you drinking alcohol that night?
Yes.
And were you doing anything else?
Smoked weed. Marijuana.
Smoked marijuana?
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you do any other drugs that night?
No.
All right. And do you recall what you were wearing that night?
A striped shirt, tank top with a black pullover and jeans and
What kind of shoes were you wearing?
flowered, like, I don't know how to explain them.
Okay.
Open, kind of.
Open shoes?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is going to be a goofy question, but it'll be relevant here in a second. Do you remember if your fingernails were a certain color?
Purple.
Purple? Now, on Friday night, did you have some sort of plan on how you were going to get home?
Yes.
What was that?
My friend Jake Hall.
Your friend Jake Hall was going to take you home?
Yes.
And did that plan work out?
No.
Why?
Because his friend fell asleep in the car and left the keys in the car.
Okay. So your ride essentially kind of disappeared.
Yes.
What, I guess as a result of that, what did you do?
Started walking.
Now, do you remember at all what time it was when you started walking?
No.
You remember if it was dark out, light out?
Yeah, the sun was just coming up.
The sun was just coming up?
Yeah.
And do you recall at all the direction that you were walking when you started walking?
I know I took a right out of the driveway.
Okay. Took a right out of the driveway, and do you remember what road you ended up at?
Green Creek
All right. And from Green Creek, what road did you end up at?
River.
River?
Yes.
And do you remember at all, or recall at all, what direction on River you went?
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And I assume you just started walking.
Yes.
Now, when you decided to walk or to go home, walk home, were you drunk?
No.
Were you high?
No.
Did you have all your faculties about you?
Yes.
At some point in time, well, let me ask you this. Did you have any idea where you were going?
No. No.
And at what point in time did you realize that you were lost?
I don't really know. I really didn't know where I was going the whole time, so
Okay.
kind of was lost.
Okay. At some point in time, do you run into, not run literally, but do you run into somebody?
Yes.
What? Describe that, please.
He was riding his bike, and I stopped him to use his phone. And he pulled up maps, and then I asked to call my mother, and he went on the dial pad, and his phone died. And he told me I was walking towards the lake.
You were walking towards the lake.
Yes.
And you were still on River at this time?
Yes.
Okay. So, can you describe for the jury kind of emotionally how you're feeling?
Scared, and I just wanted to get home. Didn't really know what to do.
Were you upset?
Yes.
So, knowing now that you were walking towards the lake, was that the direction that you wanted to go?
No.
All right. So, what'd you do?
Walked back from the way I was walking.
All right. Still on River?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at this point in time, you described as you started walking, the sun was just coming up. Can you describe what's happening at this point as far as daylight is concerned?
It was daylight out.
Okay. And this is Saturday morning, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, at some point in time, as you are walking down River, are you approached by somebody else?
Yes.
Can you describe that for the jury, please? What happens?
I was walking in a car. Our van pulled up and asked if I could, or if I needed a lift. And I asked to use his cell phone.
All right, I'm going to stop you right there for just a second. Did this van come, like, towards you or from
behind me.
And when the van pulled up, did it pull right next to you?
Yes.
And do you remember what color it was?
Silver.
And was there, how many people were in the car?
One.
So nobody in the passenger seat?
No.
Nobody in the driver or in the back area?
No.
And was this one person a male or a female?
Male.
Now they asked if you, this male asked if you needed a lift,
Yes.
and you asked for what?
To use his cell phone.
Okay. And were you given the cell phone on the side of the road?
No.
What was the response back?
I really don't remember. I know he told me to get into the car.
Okay. Was it conditioned on using the phone?
Yes. I could use his phone if I got into the car.
Okay. And when you were standing outside the vehicle, did you actually see a cell phone somewhere in the car?
Yes.
Where was it?
On the passenger seat.
Okay. Now you're pretty savvy. I mean, you're a young lady. Do you remember if it was a kind of a flat smartphone or a flip phone or
Yeah, it was a flip phone.
a flip phone?
Yep.
Okay. Now, Did you get in the car?
Yes.
And when you got in the car, what happened?
I don't really remember the conversation. I remember as we were turning onto Green Creek, I asked to use the phone. And wait, can I back that up?
Yes.
When I got in, he rolled up the window and locked the door. And I asked him to roll the window back down, and I didn't mean to be rude. And he rolled the window back down, or I don't remember. But he asked, or I asked if I could use his phone, and he said no. And then just stared at me, and I asked to get out of the car and for him to stop the car.
Let me stop you. I'm sorry, NGN. Let me stop you right there.
You're okay.
Was there a reason why you couldn't use the phone?
Oh, it was dead.
Okay. So this male told you you couldn't use the phone because it was dead.
Yes.
But didn't say any of that when you were standing outside of the vehicle.
Correct.
All right. Now, you had made the turn back onto Green Creek.
Yes.
Was that the direction? Or, let me ask you this: did you tell this male where you wanted to go? And
No.
Okay. Was that the direction you wanted to go in?
No.
Okay. Now you indicated that once he told you the phone was dead, what happened with the cell phone?
I don't remember.
Okay, fair enough. And you indicated, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but you
You're fine.
indicated that this male was staring at you.
Yes.
Did that describe how that made you feel?
Creeped out. I wanted to get out of the car.
All right. Did you in fact ask to get out of the car?
Yes.
And what happened?
He just kept going and stared at me, but he was slowing down.
Okay. Then what happened?
He reached under his seat and grabbed a gun
Okay.
and pointed it at me, and I unlocked the door and jumped out.
All right. Now, this gun, could you describe it?
It was just like little handgun, and it had an orange tip on it.
All right. I'm sure you're not a gun expert, is that right?
Nope.
Okay. Did you know whether, if I asked you, well, I'm not going to ask you that question straight then. So, gun's pointed at you.
Yes.
What's going through your mind?
To get away from him.
All right. Did the car ever stop?
No. After I jumped out, it stopped.
All right. Good answer to a bad question. When you asked the car to stop, did it ever stop?
No.
Did you say anything about stopping the car after the gun was pointed at you?
No.
All right. What did you do?
Just jumped out.
All right. What happens to you?
I was running down the road and screaming for him, please not to kill me. And then after I was far from him, he told me it was just a joke and he was just kidding. And then I ran to a stranger's house.
Okay. As you're running away, did you get a chance? Did you know whether or not this male got out of the van?
Yeah, I looked behind me.
Okay. What did you see when you looked behind you?
Him standing there with the gun pointed at me,
What were you worried about?
getting away from him.
You think you were going to get shot?
Yeah.
Did you feel that gun was real?
I don't really know.
Okay.
I wasn't really processing that at the
I
time.
understand. You were scared.
Yes.
You just wanted to get away.
Yeah.
Okay. I want to show you a couple of exhibits here, okay? Bear with me. This is People's Exhibit 42. Do you recognize this photograph?
Yes.
Does that look like the van that was next to
Sorry.
you and that you got inside?
Yes.
Okay. I also want to show, you had talked about some black netting, is that right?
Correct.
All right, I want to show you what's marked as People's Exhibit 42. You recognize that?
Yes.
What did you counsel? I thought you said the last one was 42.
43.
43, I'm sorry. Thank you, Mr. Johnson. 43. Having trouble reading my own writing. 43. Does this look like the netting you saw in that vehicle?
Yes.
And where was that located?
Between the passenger and driver's seat.
Okay.
On the ground.
We'll talk about your injuries here in just a second. I want to show you something else. This is People's Exhibit 77. Give me 1 second. Okay. Let me just verify one thing here. All right, People's Exhibit 77. First of all, the gun itself, do you recognize that?
No, not really.
Okay. How about that orange cap? Does that
Yes.
look familiar?
Yes.
Does that look like the orange cap you saw?
Yes.
Just so if you could point to it on the screen behind you, just so the jury can, here, right here, use that.
To the orange.
Yeah,
this?
the orange cap that you saw. That?
Yes.
Okay. Now, as a result of jumping out of this moving vehicle, did you suffer any injuries?
Yes.
Well, first and foremost, before I get to that, you indicated you ran to a house.
Yes.
How far do you think you had to run to get to that house?
Not very far.
Okay. And was somebody home?
Yes.
All right. And did that person help you?
Yes.
Ultimately, did that person call the police?
Yes.
Okay. And did a deputy come out and talk to you?
Yes.
And did you describe to the deputy everything that happened to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to People's Exhibit 44, Fred. All right. What is this a picture of?
My forearm?
All right. Was this one of the injuries you suffered from jumping from that car?
Yes.
All right. People's Exhibit 45. Is that one of the injuries, or what are we looking at there?
My back side.
I'm sorry.
My backside?
Okay. And is this a photograph of another injury you suffered from jumping from that car?
Yes.
People's Exhibit 46. What are we looking at in this photograph?
My back. Lower back.
Okay. Shoulder area.
Oh, yeah. That's my shoulder.
Okay. And again, is this an injury you suffered from jumping from that moving vehicle?
Yes.
People's Exhibit 47. What are we looking at in that photograph?
Pretty sure that's my back again.
All right. And is this another injury you suffered from jumping from that car?
Yes.
All right. I want you to take a look at People's Exhibit 49. In particular, that article right there.
Yes.
Would you recognize that?
Yes.
What is that?
My acrylic nail.
One of your fingernails?
Yes.
Okay, and again, I just want you to point it out to the jury for me, if you could, please. Now, you talked to a deputy,
Yes.
and you remember talking to a detective named Matt Schultz.
Yes.
And when you spoke to Detective Schultz, did you provide, well, I guess, what did you provide to Detective Schultz?
A description of him and the car, or the van, and inside the van.
Okay. Is it safe to say you got a pretty good look at the gentleman who was driving that vehicle?
Yes.
And you're not mistaken about who that was?
No.
And this is the same gentleman that pointed the gun at you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you recall Detective Schultz showing you a series of photographs?
Yes.
Okay. And were you able for Detective Schultz to point to a person in that series of photographs who was the individual driving that car?
Yes.
Okay. Give me 1 second. I'm going to hand you what's been marked as 168. All right. I want to show you this particular photograph. Do you recognize... Oh,
That's in the package. Thank you.
yes, sir. Now, when you identified the person for Detective Schultz, did you circle it and provide your signature?
Yes.
I'm going to show you this part right here. Is that your signature?
Yes.
Is this the person you pointed out to
Yes.
Detective Schultz?
Yes.
MJN is the person that did all this to you on that day, April 16, 2016. Is that person in the courtroom?
Yes.
Would you point him out and describe him, please?
Right there in the suit and glasses.
Your Honor, let the record reflect the witness has identified
You might want to be a little bit more specific.
Oh, yeah, you got two guys with suits and glasses.
Sorry.
What color tie?
Yellow?
Yellow?
Yeah.
Let the record reflect the witness has identified the defendant.
The attorney's.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. Your Honor, I have no further questions of NJN.
Okay, Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name is Fred Johnson.
Nice to meet
May I
you.
ask you a few more questions?
Yes.
You need to take a deep breath? Go ahead.
I'm fine.
All right.
Thank
Just a
you.
few more. Just a few more. I just want to make sure I understood your testimony. Your testimony was on this day in this particular situation, you were lost.
Yes.
And even before my client came upon you, you were feeling anxious,
Yes.
upset a little bit.
Yes.
And you, I would imagine, how long you've been up at that point?
I don't know.
Okay.
Long time.
But you hadn't slept the night before.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
You mentioned that when my client stopped and asked if you needed assistance, he suggested you get into his vehicle.
Yes.
Okay. What was around you at the time? Were you by a mall? Were you out in the middle of nowhere? Were you?
I was by a whole bunch of woods and then houses on the side.
Okay. And did you see any stores or any gas stations around?
No.
All right. So you climbed into his vehicle,
Yes.
and he rolled up the windows and locked the door.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said, roll down the window.
Yes.
And you rolled down the window.
Yes.
Okay. And you were able to open the door when you decided to jump out.
After I unlocked it, yes.
You were able to unlock
Yes.
it. Did you try to lock it again as you locked it?
No.
You said you wanted to get out.
Yes.
Was he traveling down the road at the time?
Yes.
And was there? I've never been on this road. Is there like a side?
There's, I think, that little ditch right there.
Okay.
And just woods.
But is there a side where you can pull off and?
No.
Okay. There's no. Okay. And am I correct? And I wasn't there at the prelim. I'm wondering. Do you know what an airsoft gun is?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember mentioning at the prelim that it was an airsoft gun that was pointed at you?
Yes.
Okay. And is that still accurate?
No.
Is not?
I wasn't accurate then either.
It wasn't accurate then?
No.
And the prelim was how long ago?
I don't know.
It was months ago.
Yeah.
It was closer to the event than this is, correct?
Yes.
And you made those statements under oath then, correct?
Yes.
And you said it looked like an airsoft gun, correct?
Yes.
And you mentioned that the orange tip thing that you pointed out
Yes.
was attached to the gun, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it's going to seem like a silly question. Do you know the difference between a gun and a syringe?
Yes.
Okay. A syringe is like a needle that you inject
Yes,
and stuff?
yes.
And you know the difference?
Yes.
And this wasn't a syringe that he had in his hand?
I don't know. Or no, he didn't have a syringe in his hand, no.
Okay. Were you injected with anything?
No.
Were you touched?
No.
I mean, other than your injuries, but you weren't touched by him?
No.
is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank
One
you.
moment, please. Ma'am, did you know or had you ever met Rebecca Bletch?
No.
Thank you. How many further questions?
Just a quick follow-up here, Judge. Prior to the defendant pulling the gun on you, did he comply with you? Did he comply with your request just to stop the car?
No.
Was there anything around you? I mean, North Green Creek's kind of a desolate area, right?
Correct.
Not a lot of traffic.
Nope.
Was there any cars around you?
No.
Any reason why you couldn't stop?
Nope.
And once the gun is pulled, is your focus kind of on that gun at that point in time?
Yeah. I took it out. Yep.
If there was anything else in the vicinity, whether it be a syringe or anything else, would you have even seen it?
No.
And in order for you to essentially leave the car, you had to jump out of the car.
Yes.
And it was still moving.
Yes.
In fact, did you lose your shoes as a result of
Yes.
running?
Yep.
And that the orange cap that I showed you in that photograph, that's what when you say orange tip, that's what it looked like.
Yes.
Nothing else, Judge. Thank you.
When you fell now, did you fall? Did your shoes come off that time or did they come off when you started running away?
When I started running.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Nothing else. Thank you, Judge.
Okay, thank you. You may stand down.
People of the state of Michigan would call Don Schmidt to the
Okay, I
stand.
think maybe this is a good time to take a 10-minute break.
Yeah, that's fine.
And jury may be excused.
Please raise your right hand. You swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Please have a seat, state your name for the
Thank you.
record.
Dawn Sharice Schmidt.
Just spell your last name so we get it right.
Yes, it's SCHMITT.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Where do you live?
I live at 2400 North Green Creek Road.
And is that in the county of Muskegon, state of Michigan?
It is.
Now, I want to take you back to April 16th of 2016 in the morning. Were you home that morning?
I was.
And what were you doing?
Well, I started my day by sitting on my deck. It was a nice day. One of, I think, the very first nice day that we had that day. And I was drinking coffee.
Okay. Now, I guess, but I've got a Bing map up here, and I don't know if you can see. You can see we've got River Road and we've got the intersecting North Green Creek. I don't know if you can, if your house is visible from there or not.
I think so. I think, yes.
Here,
I think so.
You can use this pointer right here.
Oh, okay. I think that's me right there.
Right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So, how far off of River Road are you?
Oh, I'm probably about, I don't know, quarter mile at the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you're on your back deck drinking coffee. does something, or I guess describe for the jury, if anything unusual happened that morning?
Well, yeah, it was a quiet morning at first, and I was sitting out drinking my coffee, and all of a sudden I had heard a man and a woman arguing. And it's very quiet where I live, so that was very unusual for me. And it was kind of off in the distance at first, and then I heard it get louder, and my dogs started barking, because they then noticed that there was a louder noise. And the woman, her voice started getting closer and closer. So I got up off of my deck and went into the house, and I looked out the window, and I saw a young lady running down the road, on the west side of the road in front of my house, screaming, "Help, help, he's got a gun, he's got a gun." And so I went to my front door, and I just opened up my screen door just slightly and let her know I was home. She didn't know which house to come to. My house would have been the first one that she would have seen. And so I just, come on, let her know to come in. And so she was running down the road, and she didn't have any shoes on, and she was hysterical and frantic, and she ran up my driveway and ran into the house. And I immediately closed the screen door, slammed my front door, and she was hysterical. She was terrified.
Let's talk about her demeanor. First and foremost, was this a young girl?
Yes.
Okay. And you kind of have described her demeanor, but in some respects, can you let the jury know exactly what you observed of her as far as how she was acting and what she was doing?
Well, she was screaming. She said, "Help, help, he's got a gun, he's got a gun." And she said that the whole way she was running down the road and up towards my house, right up the driveway. And then, she was disheveled. When she came in, I got her, obviously hysterical. I got her into the back bedroom. She had a scratch, I'm not sure which on her arm. One of her arms had a scrape on it, and I noticed a scrape on her back, and some of her hair had fallen out on the floor. So she was just a wreck, and she was terrified. So I got her in the back bedroom, and she and closed the door to the bedroom, and she literally wanted to climb under the bed. She was terrified. So she wanted to get under the bed, and she kept saying, "He has a gun, he's had a gun, what are you doing? Call the police." And she was just hysterical. And so I didn't have my phone with me. I had left it out near my kitchen. So I left her, and she was screaming, and my dogs were barking. It was chaos. And I went out and I grabbed my phone, and I called 911, and then had called at that point, and she...
Okay.
Yeah.
So did it appear to you to be real panic, real fear?
Oh, yeah. She was definitely panicked, afraid. She wanted to get away from the situation. I couldn't calm her down. I kept trying to get her to sit down and relax and take some deep breaths, and she just couldn't do that. And I offered her water just to kind of get her to calm down, and she just wouldn't. And of course, the fact that she said somebody had a gun made me a little nervous too. So I was kind of looking out to make sure we didn't have anybody running up the driveway after her. But yeah, she was definitely in a hysterical state of mind.
So you had indicated initially you heard two voices.
I did. I heard a man and a
one voice
woman.
got louder.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever see the origin of the second voice?
I did not. When I opened my door, because she said he had a gun, I was very cautious and just wanted her to know I was home and to come inside and just close the door.
Now, I think you indicated you ultimately got to your phone.
I did.
Correct?
Yes.
And were you able to call 911?
Yes.
Where's your emergency? He said 2400 North Spring Creek. Please come immediately. We have a man that
First, before I finish playing this, is that your voice?
Yes.
Okay.
2408. 2400 North Spring Creek. Okay, we're gonna get out there. Okay, stay in a line with me. Okay, stay in a line with me. Who has the gun? Well, there was a girl. She just ran into my yard, and she kept saying a guy just screaming. There was a piece of came up to my house, and I run right in, said, "Guys, he's speaking with a gun." Okay, so the guy's not there? Stop.
Is it the female, the girl still there?
They're right now, and I'm shaking, so.
Okay, can I talk to her?
Yeah, here she is. Hello.
Hi, this is 911, okay?
Honey, what are you calling?
Yeah, when I get some help there, how long ago did this happen?
I had her jump out of the bar.
How long ago did this happen?
3 minutes ago, I ran. Their words were up.
Who was it?
I don't even know him. I'm like, please let me out right now. Please let me out.
You were in his car?
Yes, you know, he's walking in his car and taking it. I said, let me use the phone. He said,
Where did he pick you up from?
I can show you if you guys bring me back.
Okay, but you're at 2400 North Green Creek Road right now?
I don't know.
Okay. You don't know who it was, he just told you to get his car? What kind of car was it?
A bear?
What color was the van?
Silver?
Okay. What did he look like?
Fat and beard and mustache.
What was that?
He was chubbier, had a beard and a mustache.
And you don't know where you were when he told you to get in the van?
I was on the road.
On River? Were you right by River in Green Creek? Okay. What's your name? What was that? The out in the room is talking to the officers right now, okay? How old are you?
I'm 16.
You're 16?
Yes.
Okay, can you actually get in the vehicle?
Yes, he told me.
So you were in the vehicle and jumped out? Okay. Can you spell your last name for me?
How do you put in so much pain?
Did she tell you to get in the van when he pulled the gun?
No.
No.
I told him I could let out right here. He's like, he's alive, he's up here. He's not trying to, I need to go alive. He's alive, he's right. I said, no, it's not. Please let me out. Please let me
Okay.
out.
Well, how did you get in the vehicle?
He was like, come here. We're on the physical ground. They're trying to use the phone. He said, yeah. And when he stopped the car, I rolled out the
Okay, well, when you got in the vehicle, why were you in the vehicle?
He used his phone.
What was that?
He used his phone so I could call my mom.
Okay, were you walking and got in the vehicle?
Yes, I've been walking for 5 hours.
Okay, where were you walking from?
Eric,
From where? Okay. And you were walking for 5 hours? And you stopped the van? Okay. We do have an officer on the way, okay? I just need to keep asking some questions so we can know what happened.
my mom.
Okay. What's your mom's name? When did you pull out the gun?
When I started getting out of the car, I don't want to be right here.
Okay, so you pulled the gun when you tried to get out? What way did you leave?
He chased me. He was chasing me.
When was he chasing you? And you don't know where he went?
No, he said, we have your husband. Please stop. I think I have a family.
Okay. Were you assaulted at all?
No. But I need to go to the hospital. I just bought the car.
Okay. You want an ambulance? When are you injured? Where do you live? You said you wanted an ambulance. I'm going to ask you a couple more questions about that, okay? What, are you bleeding?
Yes.
Is it controlled? Okay. Where are you bleeding from? Did he give his name at all?
It was really creepy. I was like, let me out. And let me out so I come down because I saw him reach for the gun.
Okay. Are you breathing only for yourself?
Yes, but I've been walking for a really, really long time. And earlier I was so crying. I thought I was going to faint.
How how long ago until you found the person that pulled the gun? What was that?
As soon as she called you guys.
It was right when she called us?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you last saw him in this area?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of shirt was he wearing?
I don't know.
Okay. Which way did he go? We have house there, okay? What's your mom's name?
The same last name.
What's her phone number? Okay, the officer's right around the corner. How old about was he?
He was 6 years and his 40.
Okay. And was it a minivan? Was it a minivan?
It was like a normal size van.
Like a full-size van?
Yeah.
Okay. He was about 40 years old?
No. 6 years old.
I said, what color hair did he have or anything?
Dark.
Dark hair?
Yeah, he had a
Was it a white male or a black male?
white.
He's approximately 40.
Yeah.
Did he go towards white? Did he go towards Whitehall or towards Muskegon?
I probably he took a right. Or he was going straight and I ran like left to the house and he kept going straight.
Are you talking to the officer?
So he's pulling in.
Oh, okay. When you say turn right, was that going north or south on Green Street?
Is this north or south? It's north or south. And he's going, if he went that way, is it north or south? He was going north.
He was going north?
Yeah.
And then you weren't able to get a license plate or anything, were you?
No.
Okay.
He just told me he was gonna let me use his phone, so I got in and he wouldn't give it to me, and then he said he was dead, so I was like, let me out, and he reached for the gun and jumped out of the car.
Okay. Was it a long gun or a short gun?
It wasn't fake, but it had orange in the tip of it.
So it was a fake gun?
Yeah.
What color was the gun?
There was black.
Okay. Did you talk to the officer? Okay, go ahead and talk to the officer. Okay? Yeah, bye-bye.
Is that the extent of the 911 call that you recall?
I think so, yeah.
Thank you, Judge. I have nothing else.
Thank you. So would you return that aerial view of Ms. Schmidt's neighborhood? Okay. Ms. Schmidt, I'm looking, you have a picture of it behind, on there?
Yep.
Okay. I'm looking, can you point me where your home is again?
I think this is it right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for the sake of record, that is it's a rural area, correct?
Yes, it is.
I don't see any commercial buildings or anything in that photograph, do you?
Any commercial?
Commercial? A
No.
gas station?
No.
Okay.
No.
Where might be a commercial location, the closest gas station, the closest party store, the closest restaurant? Which
It would be towards, on Whitehall Road and River Road.
Can you point which direction on that? I guess it's West River Road.
Yeah,
Which way?
you'd head back east
Okay.
and head back that way.
Well, how far?
Probably, I don't know, 3 miles maybe? 4
And how
miles.
about in the other direction? A few miles that way too?
That you're heading towards the lake the other
Okay,
way.
So nothing that way. And what about straight north, down the street where you live? Are there commercial buildings? No, they're not?
Mm-mm. No.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Ma'am, did you know or had you ever met Rebecca Bletch?
I did.
You
She was
did?
a parent of mine when I was an elementary principal at
Okay.
McMillan. Mhm.
And during the course of this situation with MJN, the young lady,
Mhm.
did she ever mention Ms. Fletcher's name?
Mm-mm. No, I'm sorry, no.
No problem.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
I don't have anything else, Judge.
Okay, thank you. You may stand down.
Okay.
People of the state of Michigan call Ryan Hehouse to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
Ryan Heathouse, Heethuis.
Mr. Hehouse, who do you work for?
The U.S. Secret Service.
And in what division?
I work for the Investigative Support Division. I'm an investigative analyst.
And you were once stationed where?
The Detroit field office.
Since then, you've received a promotion, is that correct?
I transferred to the Paris field office about a month ago.
So you are in Paris, France now.
Correct.
The reason why I bring that up is I'm calling him kind of out of order just so we can accommodate the schedules here. Thank you for being here. And how many years have you worked for the Secret Service?
I've been employed as a crime analyst for 10 years. The last 6.5 I've been with the U.S. Secret Service.
Okay. Now, I'm going to kind of ask you a general question. Why would the Secret Service get involved in an investigation like this?
So most people, when they think of the Secret Service, they think of our protective mission, and there's a lot of factors that go into that. There's a lot of technical capabilities. We have forensic capabilities. And then we also rely a lot on our local and state partners. So when the president comes to Grand Rapids, let's say, we'll reach out to the local agencies to help us with the motorcade route and all of those things. So on the backside of that, during our investigative side, if we're able to help them out in cases like this where we can use our technical skills, we try to do that as much as we can, and in an effort to give back to the community whenever we can.
Okay. Now, and is that kind of what drew you into this investigation?
Yes. So dating back to April 2013, I had reached out because I saw some of the data that they were pulling in and knew that kind of fell within my skill set. So I'd reached out to Chief John Gale at the time, or sorry, Chief Shaw at the time at Norton Shores, and just to see if they needed any assistance, and then I came over and
So
assisted with that.
your first contact with local law enforcement was during the Jessica Herring investigation.
Correct.
Did you also assist later on then in the Jeff Willis investigation?
I did.
And did you also assist in the Rebecca Bletch investigation?
I did.
Okay. Now, could you describe for the jury what your specialty is, please?
So in crime analysis, you kind of have a lot of tools at your disposal, but some of those would be financial analysis, cell site analysis. As it relates to this investigation, the most common thing I used was something called link analysis, where you're dealing with big sets of data and linking them together to try and find some commonalities.
Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit. The first thing I want to talk about is your work as it relates to the silver van.
Okay.
April 16 of 2016, there was an attempted abduction and there was some description about a silver van. Could you describe for the jury what your role was in trying to narrow that down for investigators?
Yes, so Detective Lisa Ferris had reached out to me based on my experience dealing with Secretary of State data in the Herringa investigation and asked if I could assist in this investigation. So we reached out to Secretary of State and got a list of all registered Dodge Caravans that were current as of April 16, 2016, and then they sent that data to me.
Now, we should probably fill in the blank there a little bit. Why were you focused on Dodge Caravan? What led you to that?
The investigators at this point had identified a video from a blueberry farm and had identified through a local dealer that the probable van was going to be a silver Dodge Caravan.
All right. I'm going to show you here a couple of things. Bear with me here. People's Exhibit 122. as a result, did you get an opportunity to look at some still photographs
I did.
from that video?
Yes.
All right. 122, what are we looking at in this one?
We were looking at the front view of a what appears to be a silver Dodge Caravan.
And was this one of the images that you had been provided?
It was.
All right. The next exhibit, which is 123.
Yes, this is another view of the van, more of a side profile.
All right. And again, was this one of the images you had been provided to kind of look at?
It was.
And finally, 124. What are we looking at here?
Another picture of the same van, another side shot.
Okay. Now, you worked in conjunction with Chrysler, I think you were saying? I apologize.
I did. Nope. So so I took the data from Secretary of State, and the first thing I did was I kind of cleansed the data. So I extracted just the VIN numbers because when I sent it to Dodge, I didn't want to have any of the owners attached to that, any of the personal identifiers, addresses, or any of that stuff. So I took just a table with just VIN numbers and reached out to FCA, so it's Fiat Chrysler Automotive, which also handles Dodge. So I reached out and I said, based on these images, is there anything that you can do that could kind of narrow it further? There was some indication that the antenna on the roof of the van would have been significant. So I sent over that VIN list and then said we were looking for silver. So we wanted that part extracted because Secretary of State data doesn't have color. Anything with the antenna, and then anything else that they were able to identify on their own.
So the VIN number of a vehicle would designate color?
The VIN number would not. So when I sent it to FCA, what they're able to identify for us is, because they obviously have different data because they made the vans, they're able to tell me what color was that van when it came off the assembly line.
Okay. Now, your initial list from the Secretary of State, how large was that?
It was approximately 32,000 vans.
Okay. And that was the VIN list that you sent to Chrysler?
Correct.
Okay. And were they able to help you, or I guess were they able to whittle that 32,000 down to a number, a smaller number?
They were. So based on the color, the presence of that satellite radio antenna, and then there was something with the wheels that was unique to them where they could narrow it down to, I believe, a Grand Caravan, and that brought us down to, I think, 354 vans.
Okay. Then from that 354, were you able at all, I guess then what did you do with that data?
Yeah, so I then just created just a one-to-one link table where I was then linking that data from Dodge back to the Secretary of State data. So now I want to take all of that stuff that I'd taken out, the personal identifiers, the addresses, I wanted to link it back in, and so it would say, okay, now we've got these 354, who owns these vans? So now we've got that pieced in there.
All right, and I'm assuming that included, when we talk about 354, we're talking 354 across the state.
That's statewide, yes.
Okay, and how did you narrow that down?
So then from there, because this is a pretty desolate area, investigators thought this was going to be someone who was probably familiar with the area or at least somewhere close to the area. So I mapped all 354 statewide, and we focused within, I think it was, I don't know if it was miles. I looked at the 494, any zip code that started 494, so we're looking at probably a 30-mile area, and that got us down to, I believe, 30 individual silver vans.
Okay. The other stipulation, this is the appropriate time to put in, is Mr. Johnson and I are stipulating that the defendant purchased a silver Dodge Grand Caravan in March of 2013 from Van Andel Flickema dealerships. So he purchased a 2006 silver Dodge Grand Caravan in March of 2013.
Correct, Your Honor.
All right. And then from that, did you provide that list of 31 then to investigators?
I did, so then I provided that list back to Detective Ferris.
All right. So essentially, you were part of the back-end process of whittling that 32,000 VINs down to 354, down to 31.
Correct.
And then you provide that information to investigators to go forward with.
I did.
Okay. Now, let's talk about, you also did some analysis of some video, is that correct?
I did.
All right, let's talk about that for just a second. One second. Let's talk about the work you did for what we're calling the Boyer coin video. Can you describe the process or what you did for the jury, or what you did with that video with the jury?
So the video came to me as a raw video. So I think it was about a minute in length. They had isolated this video that had presence of what appeared to be a silver van on it. So I extracted each individual image from that video, so then we could then in turn share it back with FCA so that they could analyze that video for us to see if they could narrow it down more specifically than just a silver van.
Okay, so let's first talk about the still images. Looking at People's Exhibit 127. What are we looking at here?
This is a shot of what appears to be a silver van passing Boyer coin traveling on Old Grand Haven Road.
And I guess I should have asked you that question. Boyer coin is located off of Old Grand Haven Road?
It is. It's almost directly across the street from Cinema Carousel.
Okay. Exhibit 128 is what?
Another image from the same vantage point pointing towards the road.
Okay. And if you want to flip the page, Exhibit
Yes.
129.
Same thing, a third image. So this is the sectioned each individual image of the video.
Okay. Now, in your examination of the Boyer coin video, did you also do what I call a vehicle count?
For the Boyer coin video, yes.
What did you? And what? Let me ask you this: how many other vehicles passed by? Well, let me ask this question first. What time period were you looking at when you did this count?
So the Boyer coin video would have been I don't know if it was what order. It was a video that was identified after the old Homestead video. So at this point, there was a narrower window of how big the video was. So this was just a minute-long span. So in that minute long, there was only two vehicles that had passed by.
All right. And I guess, I having been involved in this for a long time, I do a lot of assuming. This particular video was pulled after what, or for what investigation?
The Jessica hearing investigation.
Okay. And I know you also reviewed the Homestead video, is that correct?
Correct.
Old Homestead video, and how long was that video?
Approximately 5 minutes.
And how many vehicles did you do? I guess what I'm calling a vehicle count
Mhm.
for that. What did you?
I believe there was around 15 vehicles that passed in that time frame.
Any other vans?
Just one.
Okay. And again, Old Homestead is located where?
On Old Grand Haven Road, it would be, I guess, west of Boyer.
So if one were to leave the Center Point Mall parking lot and would be traveling, as you can see, to 3038 Bailey, what would be the most direct route to get there?
The most direct route would be traveling on Old Grand Haven Road to Seaway Drive, to Getty, and then east to Bailey.
Okay. Now, did you also review some video as it relates to the Rebecca Bletch investigation?
I did.
And where did that come from?
The McCormick's gas station at Russell and Bard.
All right. Give me 1 second here. All right. I've got the map up for you. It's a little small, but can you point out where that gas station is, please?
It would be located right here at this intersection.
And that's a McCormick's gas station?
Correct.
Okay. And showing you now what's marked as People's Exhibit 130. Give me 1 second here.
Okay.
All right, what are we looking at in this still shot?
This is from a surveillance camera that's on the McCormick's gas station pointing towards the road at 6:23 p.m. on June 29th, 2014. It appears to be a silver van that's passing by,
Okay.
traveling southbound.
And then the next exhibit, which is, just get the number right here.
131.
People's Exhibit 131. Give me 1 second. What are we looking at in this photograph?
Same camera, same time, just one frame ahead on the video.
Okay. Now, did you also, well, let me ask you this. As far as looking at passing vehicles, did you do the same analysis in this particular vehicle, for this particular video?
I did. So I looked at the time period from 6 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and obviously this is different time of the day, so it's a lot busier intersection. But there was approximately 135 vehicles that were traveling southbound, and there was only one silver van.
Only one silver van?
There was.
Now, and again, this particular video was pulled for what investigation?
The Rebecca Bletch investigation.
And you can see on this map, I've marked 4300 Automobile Road, which was the approximate location of where Rebecca Bletch was shot. If an individual was going to get to US 31 to go south, what would be a quick route to get there?
Yeah, so traveling northbound on Automobile Road, the quickest route back to US 31 would be east on Riley-Thompson, south on Russell Road to the on-ramp for US 31.
And that would drive you right past that McCormick's there, is that correct?
Yes, it would.
Judge, Mr. Johnson, I also have a stipulation as it relates to the introduction of both the Boyer Coin video and the McCormick's on Bard Road video as well.
That's correct, John. All right.
So I'm going to mark the Boyer Coin video as People's Exhibit 169. Got it.
Let me just say to the jury, you've heard this term 3 or 4 times now. When the prosecutors indicated there's a stipulation. And when the lawyers agree on a statement of facts, that's called a stipulated fact. And you can regard that fact as true, but you're not required to do so. But that's what we mean when we talk about a stipulation.
Then the McCormick's video is 170.
Okay. They'll be received. What was 168? Has that been admitted?
Not yet. Oh, the one question on the Mccormick's video, were you able to determine the accuracy of the time clock?
Yeah, I'd asked investigators that question, and they spoke with the longtime manager of McCormick's, and she said that she checks it monthly, and it would be accurate within 2 minutes.
Within 2 minutes?
Correct.
Okay. I'm sorry, I do have two other questions. I apologize. Did you happen to, part of, I think you indicated, part of your role and responsibility, you did some cell phone analysis as well, is that correct?
I did.
Were you able to, when Kevin Bloom became a suspect in another matter, were you able to dig into his phone records at all?
I was.
Okay, and how far back were you able to go?
So each carrier keeps records for different lengths of time. So his carrier was, I believe, Sprint, and they went back 18 months. We were able to get records dating back to December of 2014.
So they had already disposed of, if you will, any records for June of 2014.
Correct.
I mean, it wasn't like you didn't have them, you just couldn't get them.
No, we tried very hard.
Okay. Now, the other thing, too, is did you look at or analyze any connection between Kevin Bloom and Kevin Blesh?
I did.
Okay, what did you do?
So I looked at the total call records for each. So I believe Kevin Bloom had approximately 3,500 calls, that's calls and texts, and Kevin Blesh had around 5,500, so about 9,000 in total. And they did not have any communication with each other in those 9,000 records.
So of those 9,000 records, there was no communication between Kevin Bloom and Kevin Blesh, whether it be phone call or text or anything of that nature?
Not at all.
I have nothing else, Judge. Thank you.
Is it special agent or is it?
Investigative analyst.
Okay, that's long.
Oh.
How about Mr.?
That's perfect.
Okay, Mr. House. Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Fred Johnson. I'd like to ask you a few more questions. Now, I'd like to start where you left off. You had these 9,000, what were they, messages between?
So it would have just been their call records, so just their calls and texts.
Okay, so you look at those two men, and you said there's 9,000 communications and none between the two of them. Is that correct?
Correct.
In what period of time we talk about? How long?
So the Kevin Blesh would have been for approximately 10 months from, I believe, September 2013 until July 2014. And then there would be that gap in records because Sprint only keeps it for 2 years. So then Kevin Bloom would have been picking up in December of 2014 to sometime in the middle of 2016.
I'm sorry,
Mr. Bloom.
Bloom, 2016 to 2014 to 2016, right?
December 2014.
And you found that there was no communication between the two of them via the phones that you had, correct?
Correct.
How many phones did you have?
We had one phone from Mr. Bloom and one phone number from Mr. Bloom and one phone number from Mr. Blesh.
Okay. And did they have any other phones or any other telephonic devices?
I do not know.
Okay. And do you know if they had any other opportunity this was just their telephone records. You're not stating that they didn't meet or talk, but this is just they didn't do it via this communication method. Is that correct?
Just the telephone records.
Okay. You also mentioned how many silver vans was it Dodge Caravans?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Were sold? Was it 32,000?
That's how many were registered at the time in the state of Michigan. I believe I don't know the exact year window, but it was, I believe, 2003 to 2006, but I'm not certain.
And I'm speaking, so that you know where I'm going, I'm speaking specifically of exhibits 130, 131 of the McCormick gas station.
Yes.
Still videos? Okay. So we're talking about 32,000 nationwide?
No, that's statewide, state of Michigan.
Okay, 32,000 Dodge Caravans in the state of Michigan?
Yes, sir.
Wow. And is Dodge the only corporation that makes silver vans?
They're not.
Okay. How many other corporations make silver vans, if you know?
I do not.
There's sort of, how many other silver vans are there in the state of Michigan?
I do not know.
Okay. But you recognize Ford, Chrysler, General Motors, all those folks, I assume, have silver vans in the state of Michigan. Is that correct?
I would assume the same.
Okay. And so, what you saw in that video, in those exhibits, 130 and 131, that was a silver van, correct?
Correct.
As far as you can tell?
Yes.
But you can't tell the make, model, manufacturer, year, any of those things in those videos. Is that correct?
I cannot know.
Okay. All right. Where is, let's see, 1842 Sheridan? There's been testimony that my client Mr. Willis lived at 1842 South Sheridan. Is that on that map there that's behind you, above your head?
I do not believe so.
Okay, and you're not a local guy, so you wouldn't know off the top of your head where Sheridan Street is, would you?
Well, I know it's south of this frame.
It's south, is so below this frame, correct?
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, I believe so.
And your testimony was that the closest way to 131 would be from that gas station, would be to go south. Is that correct?
I believe my testimony was if subject was traveling north on Automobile Road, the quickest route would be to Riley Thompson to Russell Road.
Okay, so that if you're going to that direction, but if he's going north on Russell, you said?
No, I was saying if an individual was traveling north on Automobile Road.
Okay. You watched the entire video from which you took the stills from, correct?
I did.
Could you tell where that vehicle was headed? Did it come into the gas station and turn around? Did it go straight down the road?
It just proceeded out of the frame.
Okay. And it was headed which direction?
That would be south.
Okay. And does it show from you were able to tell if there were how many passengers there were in that vehicle?
No.
Now I want to make sure the Boyer video, easy for you to say, and the Homestead vehicles, those were both taken what year before the McCormick video, approximately?
Yeah, a little over a year, yes.
Okay. And as far, strike that. You counted 135 vehicles, and back to the McCormick again, the McCormick gas station, you counted 135 vehicles going by in the video?
In that 30-minute time span, yes.
One moment, please. I'm still perplexed about the directions there. There's 131 there, obviously, correct?
Yes.
But there are other north-south roads, correct?
Correct.
And you don't recall if that, or do you recall, that vehicle doesn't come into the gas station, just keeps traveling along?
Just keeps traveling south, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. I don't have any further questions.
Thank you.
I have nothing, Judge. Thank you.
Okay, you may stand down. Thank you.
Thank you.
Witness, please.
Thank you, Judge. Can we just, hey, Fred? People of the state of Michigan call Frank Coles to the stand.
That actually came in at 5 last night, so that's what it is. Correct. There's an ad on it. I think it's supposed to be quick. Please raise your right hand. Swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
Frank Coles.
Good afternoon. Still morning. Good morning, Mr. Coles.
morning.
What do you do for a living, sir?
I'm a blueberry farmer.
And where is your blueberry farm located?
The main one is on Weber Road.
All right. You can see in front of you and behind you, there's a aerial map. Does that look like your blueberry farm off of Weber Road?
Yes.
Now, as part of your business, do you protect it in some fashion?
We have surveillance cameras at a couple of the farms.
Okay, and is that true for the one located off of North Weber there? You have
Yes.
security cameras at that location?
On the center building, there's actually 4 cameras.
Okay. I want to show you just a couple of images here. You let me know if this looks familiar to you. First here, does that look like a shot from one of your cameras?
Yes.
And where is this camera located and where is it pointing?
It's pointing to the north driveway. It's on the eave on the north side of that center.
Coming. Okay. Now, up here is a time and date stamp. Is that right? Up in the upper.
Yes. Yep.
And what time and date are we looking at?
2016, May the 16th at 9.
Is it May or another month?
Or no, it's April.
Okay. At 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Now, how accurate is the actual time on that? You know?
I believe it's right on.
Right on? Okay. I want to show you one other thing here. This particular image, do you recognize this?
That's the south driveway on the other side of the same building.
All right. And again, the time and date stamp up in the upper right-hand corner.
Same date, 2016,
Same time?
same time,
All right.
9 o'clock.
So both of those images come from security cameras at your blueberry farm.
Yes.
And do you recall downloading those images for law enforcement and handing it over to them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, those videos are going to be People's Exhibit 171. I move to admit them unless Fred has any objections.
I do not have an objection.
Okay. We admitted.
I have no further questions of Mr. Cole.
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cole, you may stand down. Please.
People of the state of Michigan call Mike Kring to the stand.
Please raise your right hand. Swear that testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Please have a seat. State your name for the record.
Mike Kring.
Good afternoon, Mr. Kring. Real quick, what do you do for a living?
I sell used Dodge Caravans.
Okay. And is that here locally?
Yes, in Muskegon.
Now, at some point in time after April 16th of 2016, were you approached by Detective Matt Schultz?
Yes, I was.
And did Matt Schultz, was he looking for some help from you?
Yes, he was.
Now, do you recall, did he have anything that he offered for you to look at?
He had a video still shot of a caravan.
Okay. And I'm going to show you, let's see, let's go back. We're going to start with, we'll start with this image. Exhibit 124. Let me just put it up on the screen here real quick. Was this part of the package that Detective Schultz showed you?
Yes.
Okay. Now, do you exclusively sell Dodge minivans?
Chrysler Dodge minivans.
That's all you sell?
For 25 years.
Okay. And were you able to help at all with Detective Schultz narrowing down a potential year range and model that he needed to be looking for?
Yes, looking at this picture, it tells me it's an 05 to 07 caravan, most likely out of Canada.
Okay. And why do you say that?
I see a satellite aerial on the roof that tells me it's out of Canada.
Okay. And you've been doing this, I think you said, for 25 years.
Yeah, I've sold close to 4,000 caravans. Yeah.
Okay. And so you provided to Detective Schultz that year range of 2005 to 2007 Dodge. Now, is this a Grand Caravan? Or
This would be a Grand Caravan.
Okay. Fair enough. I have nothing else.
I have no questions.
Okay, thank you. You may stand down.
Judge, I apologize. I thought I had three, only had two. So I'm exhausted my witnesses for the morning.
Okay. Well, it's right around noon, so that's a good time. Ladies and gentlemen, we will take our normal break at this time. I'm going to ask that you return at 1 p.m. to resume. I have some other matters at 1:30 that I have to take care of. It'll take just a few minutes, so we can get started at 1 and we can then take a little break at that point. Okay? So we'll be in recess. Now, I do want to remind you, over the noon hour, no talk about the case, no discussion with anybody involved in the case. It has come to my attention that some of you may have been putting matters on Facebook with regard to your experience here as jurors. No Facebook postings about the trial or anything like that. Can't do that either. So please refrain from doing anything like that. Other than that, we'll see you back at 1 o'clock.